So, and forgive me for making this self-referential, but it'll help the conversation, I think. Clearly, the law responds to changing circumstances over time. So what may work in one day and age may or may not work in another day and age. That being said, I'm 57 years old. I'm white. I was born in relatively modest circumstances financially. Lower middle class, maybe, at best, socioeconomically speaking. I have a law degree from UC Berkeley. I have a master's in city planning from UC Berkeley. And I have a master's in international policy studies from Stanford. Would you guess that, or suspect, or posit that it would have been easier or harder or no difference for me to achieve those educational attainments had I been born black or brown?
I would say that in today's day and age, the real color that matters is the color of green. And if the University of California system or any public university in California wants to take into account socioeconomic status, that is perfectly permissible under Prop 209. I would say that in today's day and age, we have made great racial progress. There is no doubt that we, as a country, have a horrible history with respect to race, but we have made great racial progress. And today, I would say that the color that really matters is, again, the color of green.
So if we had a couple of kids in the same block, same neighborhood, same socioeconomic circumstances, but one of them was from a white family and one of them was from a black or brown family, is it your view that in today's American reality, there's not likely to be any difference in the opportunity available to those youngsters based on race?
It is my view that today there should not be a difference in opportunity, and therefore the University of California should not be allowed to prefer one or the other based on race.
Let me ask the question a different way then, if I can, please. And I appreciate your willingness to have the conversation with me in a public setting. If you had to bet your $5 on which kid was going to be more successful as measured by economic attainment and educational attainment 20, 30, and 40 years hence, similar economic circumstances, one kid white, one kid a kid of color, which kid do you think you should bet on?
I wouldn't bet on either kid based on their race. I would look at the kid as a whole, and there aren't two kids that are exactly alike. And the fact that you are trying to take two people down essentially to put them in one box with respect to their race really says a lot about this proposal, this bill, and the intentions behind it.
I apologize if my questions led you to misconstrue my intentions. What I'm trying to do is have a serious conversation about a very difficult topic and ask and answer the question whether race still matters today in the ability of American young people to have every opportunity to succeed. I regrettably come to the conclusion that race does still matter in terms of the ability of young people to succeed. I think we could probably find common ground on the notion that things are better than they once were, and I think we could probably find common ground on the notion that it shouldn't matter. But I think if the question that we have to ask and answer is, does it still matter? I think the answer for me is, unfortunately, it still does.
I think the question should be, how do we get to the point then where it does not matter? And the government sticking its nose in the issue of race and determining, based on someone's race, who gets into a university, and picking and choosing winners and losers based on skin color does not get us there. In fact, it reinforces to society that race should matter in our everyday decisions.
And I think you and I agree on the question, which is how can we get to a place where it won't matter? I think we have a difference of opinion about what the answer to that question is.
Senator, can I make a quick response to your other question? There are actually some pretty good studies that have looked at something called the National Longitudinal Survey of Youth, which follows something like 20,000 teenagers through adulthood. And when you control for cognitive scores and other socioeconomic factors, race does fall out of the equation when you're trying to predict earnings of 40-year-olds. there doesn't seem to be any racial effect. Once you control for performance levels on tests and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's still vital educational issues. There's still, I think, factors related to racial segregation that cause significant problems. But in terms of sort of job market outcomes and the opportunities people have once they reach adulthood, the research, I think, really suggests race does fall out of the equation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your patience with my questions. I appreciate